You're looking at me because we're live? Okay. Thought he was going to wave or something anyway. Hey, everyone. Glad you could join us. Hopefully, we'll get a few more people in here in a few minutes. Today, we're going to talk about some add-ons for Google Sheets. And to begin with, I want to give a shout out to a person named Alice Keeler. If you can switch over to my web browser there, please. If you're not familiar with Alice Keeler, she does a lot of technology PD stuff. She does amazing stuff with Google, Google Classroom, Google Drive, all of Google Docs, Sheets, whatever. She also has been more recently programming some stuff for Google, for Google Sheets in particular. All with a focus towards the classroom teacher. I don't know if she was a classroom teacher in the past or still is in some capacity or whatnot. I don't know quite her history, but everything she does is with an eye towards the classroom, which makes all of her scripts that she's written, a few of them we'll go through today, really useful and targeted towards classroom use. So big shout out of appreciation to Alice Keeler. If you're interested in other stuff that she's doing, go to alicekeeler.com and check out her website. She's got links to all the stuff we're talking about today, plus a ton of other stuff. You can sign up for weekly newsletters with tips and tricks and stuff. She does professional development sessions, both virtual, online, and in-person stuff from place to place. So can't recommend her site enough. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. So to begin with, what is an add-on? In Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Forms, and Google Sheets, there are small scripts called add-ons, and these run within a document, within a spreadsheet, within a Google Slides presentation to add functionality and do certain things for you. So basically, if you've ever wished, gosh, I wish Google Sheets would do this, or I wish I could do this in Google Docs, more than likely it can be done with an add-on script. Now, most of the time you get these add-on scripts through the Chrome store. You go search for them and you can add them to your Google Docs or your Google Sheets, Slides, whatever. But Alice's don't do that, and there's a good reason why. It turns out it costs about $10,000 to get your add-on approved by Google, for them to test it, make sure it's all safe and good and all that kind of stuff. Costs about 10 grand, and she just doesn't have the money to do that. And if she was going to go that route, she'd have to charge for them. So in order to keep them free for everyone, they don't go through the Chrome store, which means every time you go to install it or use it, you're going to get an error message that says this isn't safe because Google hasn't checked it. I will vouch for it. I've used the ones we're talking about today. They are safe. There's no problem with them. It just gives you the warning. You'll see as we go through today, a couple of them, it gives you the warning to make sure that you're thinking about what you're doing. But trust me, they're safe. It'll be okay. You're not, shipping off information to anyone that shouldn't have it. So today I want to talk about Google Sheets in particular. And with a spreadsheet, I've said it, I've heard other people say it, there's almost nothing in the world you can't do with a spreadsheet if you know enough about what you're doing. I can do a lot of cool stuff with spreadsheets. I consider myself fairly knowledgeable with spreadsheets, but the programming side of it, making add-ons and whatnot, I haven't gotten into. Good news is Alice Keeler has, and she's put a bunch of these scripts together. So if you take a look in the comment section down below the video here, you'll see links to the, what's that? And the description box, thank you. In the description below, you'll see links to the add-ons that we're going to use today. So you can follow along with that if you want to, or you can just watch what I'm doing and check them out later. But in any case, the links to them are down below. So to begin with, let's talk about bingo choice boards. I'm going to open up, if you can show this screen. Yeah, there we go. It says, so all of these are going to ask you to make a copy of the document. So all she's done is made a spreadsheet. She posts it on Google Drive, and then she set it up so that when you go to open the spreadsheet, it says, do you want to make a copy? And you make your own copy and you're off and running. So I'm going to make a copy, and this will open it up in my own account. It'll put it in my Google Drive. In this case, it's my personal Google Drive. It'll put it in my Google Drive, and it takes a minute or so to load the add-on. So, and literally a minute. I don't mean like a minute, like a few seconds. I mean, it may take up to a full minute to load the add-on. It's got to load the program. So under add-ons here up at the top, notice how it doesn't say anything about bingo. In a minute or so, oh, there it's popped up. Now it's there. So now there's a whole nother menu that says bingo. So that's what we're going to use here to do these bingo choice boards. So basically what this does is it allows you to set up your own customizable bingo cards to use with your classes. You could use this in a number of ways, and I'm sure a bunch of teachers have used bingo type games or whatever in their classes for different activities and stuff. This just gives you a way to set it up within a spreadsheet and auto-generate them for your classes. So to begin with, we want to go up here to where it says bingo, and under bingo we want to go to setup, because we're gonna set this up to begin with, and then once we get it set up we can make the sheets. So if I click setup, it says authorization required. This is what I was talking about. Since it's not delivered through the Chrome store, it's going to say you have to authorize it, and it's going to give you a warning. I'm going to choose my account. It says this app isn't verified. It's safe. You have two choices, advanced or back to safety. If you click on advanced, then down here at the bottom, it allows you to keep going, and that's what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to click go, and then allow it the permissions it needs, and we're off and running. So notice it's given me a template now. It's got some checkboxes here, items, created a tab called list, and we're ready to go. So in these checkboxes here is next to them is where you put the items you want to show up in the bingo grid. This could be numbers if you're doing a math bingo kind of game where you're having students add numbers together, and 3 and 5 and is 8, and then I hit the microphone, and then I find 8 on my bingo card. It could be names of states if you're doing a social studies kind of thing, or almost anything that you might do a normal bingo card kind of thing. So I'm just going to put fruits here. Anyway, it's going to make a 5x5 grid, so there's 25 check boxes there. You can put more items in the list and then check and uncheck the appropriate ones that you want to use in a set of cards. So you could put 40 different things in the list and have 25 checked, and it'll pull those 25 into the card. So I've got some there. You could add a whole bunch more. Once you get your items for the bingo card in the list here, you can go back up to the bingo menu and go down to make bingo sheets. And it's going to ask you, how many do you want to make? Well, you probably want one for each student. So if you had 25 students, you'd type in 25, and it'll make 25 randomized bingo sheets for you. I'm just going to do 10. It'll take less time, and I don't have that, I'm not actually making for students. But so notice down here at the bottom, it is adding sheets, bingo 1, 2, sheet 4, sheet 3. It'll do its thing for a minute or so running the script. You can see if you had 25, it would take a little bit longer, but this is a whole lot better than, making them individually yourself, right? So once you've got them all run, then, if I had 25 things in the list, this would all be full of fruits and vegetables, whatever, whatever you're choosing to put into the grids. So I'd have a 25 square grid of a bingo sheet. Now you can print these If you were in class in a normal class situation, you could, print these off, hand them out to your class, and then go about your game in the classroom there. But you can also do this digitally over the internet. So let me quickly show you how to print, just to make that clear. So once you get it run, get the cards made, go up here to print. Right now it's in landscape. You want to do it in portrait because that'll fit better. Notice that the cards now fit better on the page. And then you also want to choose not to print everything. Let me go back. I think I had a bunch of extra cells selected or something like that. So print, portrait, current. I want to do workbook because I want to print all of the sheets, one for each student. And then I don't want to print all of them because my first page is the actual list. I don't need that printed out. So I'm going to uncheck that. And then I get all of the sheets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, each one randomized differently. And then you could go next and print it as a PDF or print it to the printer at the school and get your pages for your students. So you can print them out. But here's another option. Each one of these tabs is a different web page. So if you notice up here at the top of the screen in the URL, in the Omni box as Google calls it, watch this number right here. That number right there will change as I go from one tab to the next. So that number associates it with a particular page. So if I take the whole web address and I give that web address to a student, either through Google Classroom or I email it to them or whatever, then when they click on the link, it'll take them right to that page. Then you can train your students that while you're doing bingo over your Zoom thing and you're, handing out questions like what's, 8 plus 2 and they find 10 on their bingo sheet, you just train them to use the color bucket, the fill color, to color in the square when they get their one right. Oh, I have this one. I'll color that one. Right? And so they're each in their own tab doing this. And since it's all in one workbook, on your end, you can be going through the tabs and seeing how each of the students are doing. And when one student says, bingo, I got it, right? You can go to their tab and see what they've got, right? So here's a way you could do bingo, a bingo style game over the internet. This one in particular popped up recently because something called choice boards has become pretty popular. And the idea is that if students have choice in the activities that they do or the way they want to approach something, they'll be more interested, more tied in, more bought into what you're doing. So instead of making it a bingo game, you could make it a choice board, and it's randomized for each student. So instead of things like fruits or numbers or whatever in your bingo board, you can go to, let me go back to the list. In the list could be a list of activities or assignments, and then it'll spread them out on the grid, and you can tell them, hey, you got to make a bingo. You got to do 5 things. So you either got to go across, or you got to go diagonal, or you got to go up and down, something like that, and you got to do 5 assignments some way to make it a bingo, right? And so then they get a choice as to what they might choose to do in order to meet an assignment requirement or something like that. So in any case, that's the bingo templates. Pretty cool stuff. Fairly easy to use. And I'm going to suggest with all of these, give them a trial run yourself first. I'm all the time setting this up in my personal account, for example, and then I tell my family members, hey, join this Google Classroom. I'm going to assign this assignment. I want to see how it works. Get together with some colleagues and maybe try it out before you go live with students. And even when you go live with students for the first time thing with something like this, make it something just fun and simple that's not graded or low stress or whatever. We're just going to try it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, it's okay, kind of thing. If you go whole hog and say, well, this is going to be, a major assessment the first time you try it and it doesn't go well, that can be kind of frustrating. So try small first before you jump in with both feet. All right, second thing we're going to get is called RubricTab. And this is for rubric grading. Again, you're going to get this copy document kind of thing. It'll make a copy of the spreadsheet, put it in my Google Drive. Here it is opening. Notice it's got a roster, an email address thing here. There's an edit this rubric tab down here. In the add-ons, in a moment, it will finish loading. It's, like I said, it's literally going to take like up to a full minute to show up. There it is, rubric tab. And so once it gets loaded, the first thing you're going to do is go to the second tab labeled edit this rubric. So I'm going to take a look at this right here. This is a template for a rubric, and you're going to edit this, and this becomes your master rubric. And the idea is that this script is going to, once you get the list of student names in there and get your rubric all edited the way you want it, it's going to make a copy of the rubric for each student and put it in a separate tab. And then you can use those tabs to grade student work and put the scores in. And at the end, you can click one button and it will email each student their own rubric. So not only will it do the math for you and figure out what the score should be that you put in Skyward in the gradebook, but it will also then email each student their own rubric with your feedback on it, with your scoring on it. So pretty cool way to go, I think. So just real quickly, so we can see how this works. On the rubric page here, bunch of things you're going to want to edit, and I'm going to go through them quickly. I'm not intending this to be a full how-to and walk you through, but I'll give you enough to get started and play with it kind of approach. So the student name part right here in the upper left, first set of cells, you want to leave that blank because it's going to automatically put the student's name in from the roster page. Let me back up one thing. You want to edit the rubric first before you put any student roster stuff in. The reason being is once you get the rubric all put together the way you want it, I'm going to suggest you make a copy of this spreadsheet to store in your Google Drive as your master rubric that you can use over and over again for that assignment when it comes up again. And then you can put in the new student names every time. Okay, so don't do the roster until after you've got the rubric completed. So back to the rubric. Leave the name empty. You can put an assignment name in there, right? You could make some comments there if you wanted to. That's really, I think, more useful per student. When you go to score, you can put extra comments in there. You want to fill in the points possible. So in this yellow box right here where it says points possible, just under the 100%, this will be the points possible. Yes, it will, based on your rubric scoring, figure out how many points the student should get on the assignment. Go down to the percentages across right here underneath the numbers where it says advanced, proficient, basic, so-and-so. These percentages can be adjusted. Just make sure that they make sense. And keep in mind that rubric grading doesn't necessarily exactly correlate with the 90, 80, 70, 60 A, B, C, D grade scale, right? Doesn't have to be that way. You want to then fill in the rubric criteria. So criteria 1, if you're doing an essay, you might have a criteria for length of the essay or a certain formatting that you're using. Is it an MLA format or spelling and grammar conventions? Whatever the criteria are, fill those in that column. Edit that. Fill in the weighting. So these percentages right here, the criteria weight. You may choose some criteria to be more heavily weighted than others, worth more than others. Just make sure that these add up to 100%. So if you change these from 25% to different percentages, it'll add them up right up here where the green 100% is. Just make sure that it all still adds up to 100 when you get done. Otherwise, it goofs things up. At that point, after you've filled in all these criteria in here, edit this, right? This is where you would want to make a copy for yourself, your master copy that you could use over and over again. Okay. So at this point, you go up to File, make a copy, name it after whatever the name of the assignment is, and template. Maybe put the word template in the title so that you know that that's your master copy, or the word master or something like that. Once you've done that and you're ready to use it, then when you can come back here and go to the roster and put in some names. So let me go grab some generic names and email addresses. These are made up names, by the way, to protect the innocent. Okay, so here are some names and some made up email addresses. All right, so now that I've got them in there, then I can come up here to the add-on menu, go down to Rubric tab, and create rubrics. And this will make a page for each student. If I had 25 students, I'm going to get 25 tabs across, each one having their own rubric to work from. So it runs the script, needs my permissions. This is going to give me the warning again, saying it's not verified. Again, click on Advanced. Down at the bottom, go ahead and do it anyway. Promise it's safe. All right, and then off it goes, and it's gonna make new tabs down here for it. Might have to tell it to do it again since I just approved it. Create rubrics. There we go. Oh, maybe I got to do it from the button. Okay, so we'll do it from the button over here on the right. See if this does it. There we go. So use the button over here on the right. For some reason, it doesn't work from the add-on menu. But now you can see that it's given me a tab with each student's name on it, and the name up here changes for each student. This rubric would match the template that I set up, and I would be able to go through and grade each student. So maybe this student, hey, they did really good on that one. Got a 3 on that one, a 2 on that one, and a 4 on that one. And then I can go to the next student and say, hey, did he work on that one a little bit? And this student, well, this student really struggled. And this student did really well. Just needed a little bit more on that one. So now each student has their own rubric. Notice it highlights the cells that match the score, right? So this then can get emailed to the student. So if I click, and I'm not going to do this because I made dummy email addresses that don't actually go anywhere, but if you click email rubrics, it will take each one and send it to that student. So you have a copy in the spreadsheet, and it sends them an email copy that they can see your feedback and whatnot on the assignment. So if you're trying to get into rubric grading, I think this is a great tool to use. If you've already been doing rubric grading, maybe you've been doing the rubrics on paper or whatever, this might be a good way to go. Again, something to try out. Maybe do it small scale first till you get the hang of it and whatnot. All right, let me jump over and see if there are any questions so far, things that are going on. Sasha loved the music. Good job, Marcus. Michelle likes strawberries. Who doesn't, right? Well, I guess some people are allergic to them. Maybe they don't like them, but... all right, seems like we're doing all right. I'm going to move on to the next one. The next one is a discussion board. Personally, I have been really struggling with how to do discussion type things, discussion board type things online with my students in a safe way. There's lots of places out there where you can do discussion boards, but it's kind of open to the whole world, and I'm not really excited about that with my students. That's probably not a good idea. So, you know, how do I do a discussion board? If I was an elementary teacher, like a 3rd grade or 4th grade teacher, and I wanted to do a little bit of this with my students, I certainly wouldn't want to do it on a public board. I wish Google Classroom had better capability of doing discussion board type stuff. Unfortunately, it just really doesn't do very well at that. But like I said, spreadsheets can do anything if you just know how to do it. And so Alice Keeler has figured this out. So again, go to the link and it asks to make a copy. I say yes. Takes a minute or so to do it, and it will load up the whole script and everything. This one has a whole bunch of description and instruction stuff here in the spreadsheet to begin with, and that will disappear after you get going with the script. But basically what this will do is it will set up a discussion board within the spreadsheet. And then you can share that spreadsheet with your students and they can add to it as you go. So you can imagine perhaps having a shared spreadsheet and people can type in each line, but this goes a little bit further in controlling how things get formatted and into the sheet and whatnot. And I'll show you as we go along. So first thing is to get the spreadsheet. And again, after a minute or so, it will show up under add-ons, go down to discussion board, and it says discussion board menu. So that's one way to get there. You can also click here to get started. I think either way will work. You're going to have to do the authorization thing again. And again, it's going to warn you that this could be dangerous because it's not verified. I promise it's safe. Click advanced, go down to the bottom, discussion board. Yep, go do it anyway. Give it the permissions. And it gives you the sidebar over here. The sidebar's got all these buttons in it, and you're going to be wanting to go to the teacher portion to begin with. So if you click on teacher down here, it will give you new buttons to click. And what you're going to want to do is to start discussion board. So I'm going to do this down here at the bottom, towards the bottom. It says start discussion board. And you enter your discussion question. So this is for your first board. Each tab will be a separate discussion board. So I'm just going to say, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? Okay, and then it creates a new tab with that question up at the top. Notice it's kind of formatted things cleanly, color-coded. Here's the main question up at the top. Really cool feature is every time a student goes to respond in this thread, it's going to automatically pull their email address in. So you don't have to worry about, oh, they put in a nickname and I don't know which student that is, or they didn't put their name on it, so I don't know which student responded and whatnot. So it automatically populates my email address in there. I have to type in my name. Student will have to type in their name. Your response to the question, I like vanilla best because I'm plain. That's it. If another person gets here, so once you share the spreadsheet, they can come back to this page. You can click here to respond, and it adds another row and automatically pulls in your email address. Again, if I was the student, type in my name, blah, 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 blah. If I'm the teacher, I can come in here and go, oh, I want to respond to this student's comment because they had a good idea, right? Another student comes in, oh, I want to chime in and give my response. So click here to respond. It gives me another row, pulls in my email address, and off you go. Just like the previous spreadsheet, the web address up here, the URL, is unique to that page. So if you want them to come to that page, you take that web address, post it in Google Classroom for them to get to, and they can all go there and comment on the spreadsheet. So it's not the most full-featured message board. There are bigger and better solutions out there. Again, most of them or all of them are public or open to the world. So not my favorite way to go. So this might be a good option. I haven't tried this with my students yet, but I'm thinking I might go with this next week. I've been using some of the features in Google Classroom to do some discussion type stuff, and it's just really not as well featured as I would like. So if you're interested in a discussion board, give that one a try. You can add new questions. Right up here it says create new discussion. If you click that, it gives you the box again that says, what's the question? And it creates a new tab. And so you can keep going and add more and more questions, discussion boards to the same workbook, the same set of spreadsheets. All right. Question says, so all the students will see everyone's response. Yes. Everybody that has access to that spreadsheet could see all of the responses that are there. They can even type in the response column, that second column where you can put comments, so they could comment on other people's response as well. So yeah, just like an open message board. Cool. All right, next stop is called PDF My Folder. Oh, did I get the link wrong? Looks like I got the link wrong. Hold on. Oh, yep, it's missing an A. There we go. So just like before, it's going to ask you to make a copy, and I'm going to let that load. So PDF My Folder solves a small but somewhat significant problem at times. If you've ever had a folder full of Google Docs that you wanted to turn into PDFs, it's painful. In Google Drive, you can only print to PDF or print to anything one document at a time. You can't select a whole bunch, click print, and it'll print them all. So that's painful. You can turn them into a PDF, and on your desktop, so if you downloaded them to your Mac or your Windows PC, if you turn them into a PDF, once you have them all as a PDF, you could select them all and print them all in a batch that way. But you got to get them into a PDF form, and doing them one at a time is just painful. This spreadsheet allows you to take a whole folder full of Google Docs, print them as, and they don't have to be docs actually, Google Docs, Google Slides, or Google Sheets, all will work. Okay, so if you have a whole bunch of students, student work where they've turned in a Google Slideshow, you can print each one of those to its own PDF in just a couple of quick clicks rather than going one by one by one. So just like before, let it load fully. It takes a while sometimes for it to show up under add-ons. If I go to PDF My Folder, I'm going to click on Sidebar. And again, you got to authorize it. Go to Advanced. Yes, it's okay. We'll all be safe. I hear if you stand 6 feet from your computer, you can't catch anything. So, all right, so we get this sidebar showing up. And really, nothing's going to happen in the spreadsheet. I mean, the spreadsheet's doing the work. It's just the place where the script runs. But it's going to do all the work in your Google Drive. So I'm going to click this button that says Make PDFs. And I get this box that pops up. Under this header here, it says Select a Folder. And this goes to my Google Drive. And you see all of your folders. You want to find the folder that you want that has all the files in it that you want to turn to PDFs. Side note here, if you have non-Google Drive files in the same folder, it's going to goof things up. So if you have a folder that has a bunch of stuff in it and a couple of Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, whatever files in there as well, you're going to want to make a new folder with just the Google Docs or Google Slides or whatever in it by themselves. So anyway, you pick the folder that you want, and when you click Select, it's going to do its little thing here, and when it's done, it's going to look like nothing happened here. Okay, it just sits there like, I'm not sure what happened, right? What it's done in the background is it's created a new folder in the same place you just chose. So go to where those original Google Docs were. In that same place, it's going to say a new folder that's going to say PDFs in here. And in that folder, let me see if I can show you. Just go away from my screen for a second, Marcus. Thank you. So yeah, okay, I'll show this. So in that folder, I have all of these Google Docs, right? This is the one I chose. Now there's a new folder that the script made. I didn't make this folder, it made it, and it says PDFs in here. And if I open up that folder, I've got all the same documents as PDFs. Then I can download those to my desktop and print them as a batch. Now, I might not do that for just 5, but if I had a whole class set of Google Docs that I wanted to turn into PDFs, this would be great. If I had 5 periods of students' work that I wanted to turn into PDFs, this would be a lifesaver, right? This would be a big deal. That'd be a huge help. Since all of the student work from Google Classroom is saved in a folder called Classroom in your Google Drive, you can go find that assignment and you can say PDF those docs, and you can take a whole class's worth of work and turn them into PDFs that you can then easily download and print out if you need to, or whatever you're going to do with them. So again, a small task, a small thing, small amount of work that it does, but it does it really well and can save you a lot of time if you have that specific need. I don't run into this every day, but when I do run into the need to create a bunch of things into a PDF, this has saved me a ton of time in doing that. All right. Yep, so we're still doing good. I do check for comments and questions, by the way, in the live chat, so if you're wondering about something as we're going along, don't hesitate to pop the question in the chat there. All right, the last one I want to talk about is called Email Parents. And same thing, you hit the link, it says make a copy, so you make a copy and you let it load, and it's going to take a few minutes to load. While it's loading, let me tell you what this one does. So this one will take a list of student names, email addresses, parent names, and email addresses, and it will allow you to send a portion of your email the same for everyone. Like, this week in our class we're doing blah, 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 blah. That goes to every student. And then you can put specific notes to each individual student that will only go to that student and that student's parents. So blah, 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 this is what we're going to do all week in class. And a special note, hey, Joey, I noticed you missed Chapter 2 test, and I need you to make that up as soon as you can. Please arrange with me when to do that. Joey and his parents will get that portion of the message along with the part everybody gets. Other students will get other personalized messages to that, and it all happens in a couple of clicks. So, again, once it's loaded, I'm going to go to Add-ons, Email Parents, and Start. And it's going to ask you to authorize it, just like it always does. Yes, it's safe, we promise. Allow. All right, sidebar over here. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to want to create a roster. So when I click that button, it says, please complete the roster and guardian information. Okay, so I've got to fill it in. So I got a new tab down here that says roster, and I can put in names, email addresses for students and parents. So let me go and copy and paste some made up student names. And yes, I realize I'm putting first and last name in the same box. I wouldn't normally do that, but for time's sake, I'm putting them in the same box. And then parent names. By the way, you can get Excel spreadsheets out of Skyward with lists of student name, parent name, email addresses for each that make copying and pasting into the spreadsheet pretty easily. Parent name and parent email addresses. Okay, so once I've got that stuff filled in, again, for the student names, I would generally put the last name and first name in separate columns, but it'll be okay for demonstration purposes here. Once you've got that figured out, then click the next button down, which says create email message, and fill out a personal note per student. So Notice I've got an area up here for an email message. And then I've got lines down here for individual notes. Each line goes to each individual student and parent. So the message up here, you know, this week in class, we're going to be doing blah, 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 blah. Okay. Down here, Joe is doing well. Steve is really trying. It's a nice way of saying he's not quite making it right. Is a great help. And Johnny needs to attend more. Okay, whatever the notes are, right? It can be as long as you want. I just did something short here. Once you get that stuff filled in, when you click the send email button, it's going to send the email message up here under the yellow bar. Everyone gets that. And then each individual student and their parent gets the message that goes with their name from down below. So that all goes into one email message, nice and formatted, and it sends it out. Done. So communication-wise, this is a great way to go. You can have a standard message put together, say, on Monday, and throughout the week as you meet with students, you make a personal note about each one, and on Friday, you come in and click send email. And you're done. Good to go. Again, I would suggest try this out with family or a small group of colleagues or whatever, so you can, you know, see how it looks, how the email is going to come out looking and whatnot. I'm not going to click send email here because I have made up email addresses and they won't actually go anywhere. So you won't actually get to see that. But another time saver tool that makes communication a whole lot easier with parents and students. All right, that is our 5 tools. I don't see any other questions, so I'm assuming we're all good to go. I hope people can get something useful out of all of these. I know that you know, some of these I've used. The discussion board one, for example, I'm going to try this next week and see how that goes. I think it's a great tool. AliceKeeler.com, her website, has a ton of other add-ons and stuff on her site and videos on how to do things and whatnot. It's a great resource, a great tool. Can't recommend it enough. You can check that out. If you need help with any of these and getting them going, reach out, send me an email. I'd be happy to help you. We can do a Zoom together and get it going. Great tools, I think. Hopefully you'll find something that makes your life a little bit easier. All right. Until next week, everyone, have a good time.